This is Never Forget by Rachel Hackney for Fundamentals of Speech. A wise man once said, "We must always take sides. Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. Silence encourages the tormentor, never the tormented." Elie Wiesel was one of the many tormented, one of the few Holocaust survivors, and the author of several books. One might wonder why this topic is so important to me, considering it took place way before my time. I want to share my thoughts with you. During grade school, we often talked a lot about Hitler and the oppression on the Jews. It was such an intriguing topic for me, even at such a small age. As I grew older, I began to ask question after question, and to my teachers, parents, or practically anyone that would listen to me. I asked so many questions because it was scary to me, the fact that socialism of this magnitude could have the possibility to have a comeback. When I was in the 6th grade, my parents decided that since I was such a curious little thing, that they would drive us up to the United Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C. Of course, I was absolutely thrilled with the idea of getting some of the answers to my many questions. However, when I arrived, it was horrific. I was beyond upset at myself for being thrilled to gain knowledge at such a gruesome event in history. My first memory was walking through the massive doors to the museum. I received a small card with a person's name and a brief part of their story. Next, my family and I got to decide which place we entered first. Now, that being years ago, I can honestly not tell you exactly which side we went to first. I can tell you, however, what happened next changed me forever. Continuing on throughout the museum was voiceovers describing specific stories and battle zones. When you went into these certain sections, it just wasn't too gruesome in some parts. However, the room that changed me forever was the hallway of nothing but a bin of shoes. These shoes were some of the actual shoes from the concentration camps. They were dusty, gray, small, so very small. And then it hit me. This affected more than 6 million Jews alone. Let me repeat that. 6 million. Can you imagine? That is why socialism is so crucial to understand. That is why we should learn more about the history and relate it to the present. Normally, in such an important speech, one does not read an excerpt from a book. However, I shared what had changed me forever. Now, I want you to understand what changed Elie Wiesel forever. It all relates. But my experience was truly not an experience of such hardship like Mr. Wiesel. In the end result, I want us to be aware of the hardships that we face presently and what has been in the past. This is from Mr. Wiesel's book, Night. Never shall I forget that night, the first night in camp, which has turned my life into one long night, 7 times cursed and 7 times sealed. Never shall I forget that smoke. Never shall I forget the little faces of children, whose bodies I saw turned into wreaths of smoke behind a silent blue sky. Never shall I forget those flames which consumed my faith forever. Never shall I forget that nocturnal silence which deprived me, for all eternity, of all the desire to live. Never shall I forget those moments which murdered my God and my soul and turned my dreams to dust. Never shall I forget these things, even if I am condemned to live as long as God Himself. Never. Now, as we go on, I remember this one day when I stumbled into a museum, looking back on the past. Yet, when Elie Wiesel experienced it, it was once his present. I gained so much insight and remorse that day. I will never forget. And like the United Holocaust Museum says, what you do matters.